Well, hello. Well, the Labour Party have decided that they're going to reform the national elections. They're going to be using a new system called automatic voter registration, AVR. It's something that the Conservative Party actually kicked down the road for a while. It's cross-party, and just to let you know, that term cross-party just basically means that everyone magically agrees. This is just a bringing all these millions of new voters in, these young voters, is just a very cynical way for the Labour Party to attempt to win the next election, get more votes. There's definitely something more going on here. And first, we must discuss the most important topic when it comes to national elections, which is the prefrontal cortex.
The prefrontal cortex is a large part of the front of the brain which develops a lot slower than the rest. It deals with decision making, considering long-term consequences, and that becomes behaviour called impulse control.
So the plan is to register millions of new young voters, and I guess in the hopes that they make an impulsively terrible decision of electing the Labour Party for another term. In terms of political strategy, that means that Labour know that electing them for another term is actually a terrible idea. I mean, I knew that already, maybe you did, but that's the benefit of having a fully developed prefrontal cortex. And now for a very controversial subject: mind control. The media are always going on about how amazing democracy is, like it's some kind of spiritually uplifting thing that's going to like save humanity from the tyranny of evil or something. But there's something wrong with that message, isn't there? A proper American will tell you that they don't live in a democracy, they live in a constitutional republic. And of course, a similar kind of thing is true for us. This is not a democracy. This is a constitutional monarchy. But there's excellent news. Your owner, the king, I want to tell you, he's a really nice guy. And he believes in inclusivity. And therefore, he wants you to be included in a list. A bit like a high-tech Domesday book. When people turn 16 in the UK, they get issued with a livestock milking card, which a lot of people like to call the national insurance card. Oh, big pardon. I like to think of it as a milking card because it's essentially a code that gives the Crown a back door to your bank account so that they can milk your profits for the whole of your life. But in, let's call it, modern Britain, they're having a bit of a problem. You see, there are many more cows in this field than there are registered milking cards. In the high-tech security industry, they call this problem deduplication. Essentially how to prevent people pretending to be other people. Turns out they might be missing some milk. But rather than cry over it, they've decided to just become like William the Conqueror in 1086 and create a new national register of subjects. A system of biometric enrollment for the election was trialled in the developing world, and now the trial is over. It will be built properly in Britain. And not just for 16-year-olds either, but for everybody eventually. When they trialled the system in Somaliland, they went around iris scanning people, enrolling people into the electoral register. But do you think they'll just delete that database once the election is over? Of course not. These sorts of things are extremely expensive to arrange and a lot of hard work. And in a place like Somaliland, they don't exactly have what we would call a properly structured civilization. So this sort of database will actually be used as a foundational thing to essentially run civil society from. So these databases don't disappear. The system they built in Somaliland was specifically designed to target groups of people who essentially weren't enrolled in the voting system because they couldn't read very well and they couldn't write very well and they couldn't really speak very well in the local language. This is reminding you of Britain, isn't it? When the Conservatives were pushing this plan down the road, they actually held off on implementing it because they were concerned about an enormous centralized identity database. The problem being is that it's a single point of failure for data breaches, but Labour, they don't seem to care. What do they want? A large centralized identity database. When do they want it? Before the next election, ideally. So in the near future, when a 16-year-old receives their national insurance card, they will also be invited, thank you, they will also be invited for an iris scan. And when you apply to renew your passport, you also will be invited for an iris scan. So it basically means that, everyone will get to be included in this upcoming spiritual and empowering election. But also, sort of by accident, they're just going to create a massive centralized digital identity database which will have the ability to identify subjects at the click of a button. So this is what a typical raw data output looks like from an iris scan. It's an array of alphanumeric code, and from about the age of 5, when your iris is formed and stabilized, provided you don't get involved in any kind of nasty accident playing darts at the pub or anything, your code will not change. Even if it were 30 years later and you had an iris scan, the same code would be output by the machine. Of course, as far as solutions go, it certainly singles everybody out and solves the cow duplication problem. But it does create another problem, doesn't it? That of Britain increasingly becoming some kind of Orwellian dystopian surveillance nightmare. The biometric security industry are extremely keen on helping to build this system. It's something they've been after for actually a very, very long time. They've always been very boastful to governments about how amazing their new systems are and how they can extract an iris scan from a subject from a far, far distance away. The devices themselves actually will look exactly like one of those ANPR cameras, or automatic number plate recognition cameras. It looks like a high-tech CCTV camera, but it has lots of different lenses. Here's briefly how it works.
A wide-angle lens surveys a location in the field, and a neural network looks for faces like it does with your phone and puts a box around them. But this camera has another lens that is zoomed in so it can take high resolution images in just that location, and it scans the frames looking for when you have your eyes open, and then it'll locate where the eyes are, send that information to a telescopic lens which takes a super high resolution image, crops it, color grades it, and voila, an alphanumeric code pops out the bottom.
Provided that the Labour Party actually summon the competency to actually build this thing, their plan is to initially give you an opt-out. When you renew your passport, they'll give you an opt-out. But of course, that presumably won't stay around for too long once it becomes mainstream. They will bug you, they will hassle you, they will eventually bribe you and then extort you into enrolling into the biometric identity database. The kids are not going to be hesitant though. They're going to be lining up, screaming to get iris scanned so they can be part of the brave new world democracy in air quotes. But I will carry on not doing that.